football, including the Chiefs on Friday. We had
Right.
the whole
Right.
crew out. Man, what another squeaker. But it's a win. I don't care.
That's right.
I'm fine with it. I understand people's rationale that they're not showing enough in their mind to prove that they're good and ready to go for the Super Bowl. I don't care what you say. A win's a win. Let's keep it pushing. Steve, how you think? Do you think those players? And I saw a little bit of disappointment, frustration in there, even in a win. How do they deal with that type of thing? What do they do next?
Yeah, the thing is again, it's the fundamentals of football. I keep saying it all the time. People get caught up in the hype, the storylines, and everything. The real deal is find a way to win. It does not have to be beautiful. It does not have to be glorious. Absolutely, we would love to win by 35 to nothing. That lets you know your defense is on fire and your offense is on fire. Special teams is working. It lets you know, yeah, these are great, wonderful things. But guess what? There's this thing called reality. And the reality is those guys get paid too. So
Right.
when you're dealing with the fact that these guys are professional athletes who want to win, you better be competitive. It's just what it is. And there's so much parity in the league now that any team can beat anybody on any given Sunday. That's not a false expression. And the thing the Chiefs are mastering to me is the ability to find a way to win. Now, don't get me wrong. This last one, this was luck. That's absolutely not the way you want to win because luck comes and luck goes. So we got lucky. It was a nail biter. But again, what do I say all the time about conference play? You're going to get the best football from the people in your conference, regardless of what their record is.
True.
That's just what it is because they know you. Not only do they know you, they got you twice a year, and you beat them the first time. Trust they're coming back with blood in their mouth, and they're trying to devour you. So it was amazing that they were. I totally didn't see that being a close game. Not nowhere near, especially once Minshew went down. I was like, okay, we got the third, fourth string quarterback. This wrong. This is the NFL, baby. It is what it is, but that's why people love the game.
Right.
You get that tight competition. But congratulations to the Chiefs for finding a way to win. That's what matters in these next 2 months.
Rev, what you think, buddy?
Well, what you didn't want to see is a letdown after the Buffalo loss. And they came in on, hey, day after stuffing themselves with turkey and gravy and mashed potatoes and talking about turducken until the cows come home. Everybody talks about, hey, being lucky. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. All right. And when you're the number one, you get everybody's number one. I mean, you saw the quarterback, like Steve said, we don't know if he was the first, second, third, eighth ranked quarterback on a team, played like he was an all pro. Your hat's got to go off to the Raiders. And there's a lot of people out there that are talking about, does Antonio Pierce deserve, to coach his third year? Of course he does. And the reason is because there are too many coaches getting onesie, twosie year contracts, and they're getting walked out the door. That's not enough time. You're playing with other people's kids, and what you saw on Friday was a guy that, hey, for all practical purposes, they've won 2 football games. They got nothing to play for, nothing. Okay. They could have just, other than pride. Thank you, Steve. They could have said, you know what? Let's get ready for the draft. We hear this all the time. Well, they're just setting up for the draft now. That's not what Oakland did. Oakland said, we are going to come out here and we are going to give Kansas City our best game. Now, everybody sits around and says, hey, it's a 2-point ball game. They got lucky at the end. Okay. What's in the win column, a W or an L? There's a W in the win column. So in a year, we're going to do a pop quiz and say what happened in that game. None of us are going to know what happened other than the Chiefs won. But this is where the Chiefs are going to start and have started really doing themselves favors. They are winning close ball games, and when you win close ball games, that confidence is wherever Patrick's at on the field, whenever, whatever time is left on the clock, there is that air of confidence to say we got this, and as well as the fact that uh, they are playing every team, no matter if they're good or if they're horrible with their record, they're getting their best performance, which is what you want. You don't want window dressing. You want the real deal Holyfield when you're playing on Sunday or whatever day for that matter, because now your team is being tested and it's being
Yeah,
tested every week.
yeah.
And that's what we forget about is the fact that yeah, they could go out and beat them 42-7. Everybody's rested by the middle of the third quarter. You know, they're talking about ordering hot dogs, eating Skittles, and, you know, hey, what are we doing tonight at the club? That's not football. Football is 4 quarters, and you got to play it out every week. And that's what the Chiefs are doing. I'll tell you what, I'm excited for them because I know that at the end of the year, these guys are going to be ready for just about everything. The kitchen sink, the garage door opener. I mean, everything.
The
They're
remote.
ready. They're ready.
Everything.
Because the only
And a
thing,
lot of teams aren't going to be ready for that.
but the only thing that matters is second season. That's the only
That's
thing that
right.
matters. Congratulations, you'd be 17-0. That'd be great. Everybody would love that. That
Right.
would be an absolutely wonderful thing. It's actually kind of good that they lost one, and who they lost it to is really good
Right.
because it gives Buffalo a little more confidence. But we know it's like, okay, when we got to stop Josh Allen. Doesn't matter what else you
Mhm.
do, you got to stop him. If you don't stop him, they're going to be in the game to win it. So you know specifically what you need to go after to shut down your best competition, and then you know what you got to do just as an attitude and a energy as a team. Because that little bit of confidence, because every time you watch a Chiefs game, what you see is that the fans are like, okay, we know we can win this. But guess what happens? The other team's like, damn, this is when they really win. And
Yeah.
that little doubt that you plant in their head could be just enough to win the game. And because you've gone through it through all of your games, every game there has not who we come close to blowing out. Did we come close to blowing anybody out? Like
No,
nobody.
nobody.
We
No.
haven't. Every one of them
And
has
you
been a
know,
nail biter.
and you know what, Steve? I'm glad you said that about what gets into your head because I believe that that very thing is what was in the quarterback's head when he clapped too soon before he was even ready because he was already nervous because Pat had applied that extra pressure and put him on the spot. And you know that when it's Pat Mahomes, you know you're gonna have to go beat them, and that extra pressure is the type of pressure that makes you clap when you're not even ready to take the snap, and then now the center snaps the ball, you get the penalty, and in the recovery, and it's over. Like, come on, that's
And-
that's a huge thing.
yeah, and it's the mindset, and it's that last. But like I said, when you're in the playoffs, man, you are exhausted, and when you don't know how to get through that, you got to learn it. And more times than not, teams just get lucky. That's more times
That's
than
right.
not. But the Chiefs are ready. So they're
No,
not going to be lucky. I mean, this was a lucky game, and I want to if they don't make that mistake, they win the game. But because they weren't prepared and they haven't been there, they just get beat. They wind up beating themselves. So
am I
and
not right that that was going to be a 50-yard, 53 or 54-yard field goal attempt? That even if they had just ran the play good enough to get the field goal kicker in the game, uh, is he going to make that?
That's right.
that's a toughie.
Yeah.
I had an old ball coach that used to say in college, if woulda, coulda, and shoulda were presents, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. Okay. The
Amen.
reality is this: even if he does get to down the ball, that kid's still got to kick it between the uprights, and he's been struggling not just in that game but all year.
All
So,
season.
I
you
think
know,
your bigger thing is
the reality for these guys is this: it's this time of the year. You got snow on the ground. Okay, you've got
Yeah.
feet that are cold. You've
Yeah.
got, and obviously there wasn't snow on the ground in Terror Head, but it's loud. You
Yeah.
know, you got the elements against you. Hey, you're on the road. Deal with it. The reality for many is this: uh, we've watched now, games in Buffalo where the kickers, they're not kicking them through the goalposts anymore. They're just praying to get it close. I
Yeah.
mean,
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's the
Missing
separation
kicks
that's
left and
happening.
right.
That's
That's why
right.
we got to keep home field advantage because it's yeah we can play in the snow, but Buffalo's unique because they'll get 15 feet of it, so that changes the game. I don't give a damn who you are. That's too much snow to get through because that was the first quarter they got like 2.5 feet. That's like oh my god, how can you play through this? It's just terrible. And then
It used to kill me that you could see the snow in Orchard Park and you get back to Buffalo 15 miles away and there's no snow on the ground. I mean, welcome to Lake Effect.
Oh
And
my God.
and they were talking about it the other night that
Yeah.
it wasn't even snowing at the airport, but they had it,
Right.
all over. In fact, I guess they were handing out shovels when they were handing out, hey, welcome to Orchard Park,
yeah,
for the game.
they said
So
people were getting $20 an hour just to shovel out their area where they got.
Yeah.
unreal.
Yeah,
Unreal.
that's yeah, and I saw people getting in the stands, and the snow was up to the top of the back of their seat. Like, oh my
Come
god,
on, man.
horrible! That's
Oh,
ridiculous. But
Yeah. Buffalo, that's crazy, man. There's no way I'm living in Buffalo. I'm sorry, bro. The great place to visit, but no thanks, man. Come on.
right.
it's cold. It's not just snow. It's cold,
Yes.
real cold,
All
real cold. It's not 30 degrees. It's like -5.
But
It's
I'll
Living
take
in the
-5
north.
until you get 35 inches of snow overnight for 3 nights in a row. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
even if
And
they
it's
get
there
6 feet
it's
of
there
snow,
until June. Yeah.
yeah, like, nah, man.
that's why Minnesota built the dome because it just what they weren't competitive. It was just too bad. It's too hard.
Terrible.
It is a home field advantage if you get it late in the year, but the reality is this: Terrorhead's just as competitive, and
Yeah,
I've frozen to death in Arrowhead without it snowing. I mean, it
right.
it just it's
Freezing,
that
freezing rain.
humidity of Missouri that'll get you every
Freezing rain is
every
such.
winter.
Well, I came here my rookie year when I was playing in Indy, and we got that freezing rain. Oh my God, it was a horrible night. Horrible.
It is amazing.
You couldn't keep the ball clean. Fumble
Right.
left, right. Here knows what. Drop balls. It just and it just kept raining the whole time. It was terrible. So we need a dome too. That's just my opinion.
Well, like you said, it has definitely been a piece of home field advantage. It was almost like Miami didn't even come for that game last year. You know what I'm saying? Like they were done before they stepped. As soon as they stepped off that plane and felt that was ridiculous, even for Kansas City people. Like that was crazy.
Yeah, it was insane. That was real. That was
That was they
unfeasibly
had
cold.
what I think they
It's,
said.
it's also a reason why Miami can't be taken serious late in the year
Right,
because
right,
if they're not undefeated and not playing in Miami late in the
right.
year,
Done.
They got to go to New York, New England, and Buffalo. So they're gonna lose 3 games. Like if it's cold, they're gonna lose three
Yeah.
games guaranteed. So they gotta be 10-3 before they hit December. That's just what they gotta be because they're gonna lose.
right?
And they're in the same position, right? That's exactly right. They're in the same position right now. They look like a good team,
They
but you
are.
already know as soon as you get
They're
them
a
in the
great team.
elements, they're
They
done, man. They're done.
again, the NFL is a game of inches. It is not like college football College football, you got the monsters, and then you got people in between that are trying to become a monster.
Right.
In the NFL, they're all monsters. It's
Yeah.
just who's got that edge, that extra oomph
Yeah.
that separates you from somebody else. Look at poor Cincinnati. I feel bad for them. They
Wow.
actually came in the season storming, looking good, and man, they just had them losses early on, and they just can't get any stride. And then once everybody else gets their teams moving,
Yeah.
the exposure of their defense, it's
Yeah.
like shit. Y'all can't get ahead for nothing. Got a
No.
great team, but you can't get ahead because and your conference is, like, in my opinion, still the hardest conference in the game. Goddamn Cleveland got Jameis Winston out there playing, and it's like shit.
Bombing on
You still got to play against their defense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, you just never know. That's the NFL. That's why people
That's
are watching,
damn.
because you can sit there and put whatever hype behind whoever you want to put it behind. Go right ahead. They got to back that shit up.
Every
Only got
week.
to back it up 17 weeks of it, and that is hard. And I don't give a shit what anybody says. You can balk at the Chiefs, say, "Oh, they're doing this. Oh, they're not playing this. Oh, they're not putting up numbers." That only pisses Vegas off.
Yeah.
Right.
W's is all that matters.
Yeah.
Everything else can go by the wayside. I take 100 yards of offense, give up 500 yards on defense. As long as I walk out with a W, I don't give a shit.
I don't care
Win.
at all.
Just
And
win.
let's not forget the Spanos family fired Marty Schottenheimer after he went 13-3. Okay, so even with the W's, it's one of them things where guys we sit and talk about the end of the year. We're at the end of the year. We're watching coaches start getting their pink slips. The funniest thing I heard about was they walked Robert Sala out and didn't let him box up his stuff. I'm like, I don't know anybody that gets to box up their own stuff. They always have to send somebody back in because they've been locked out. They had the card key taken away. The whole, hey, this parking space is reserved for the head coach. That gets pulled out of the ground. That's gone. That's right.
It's like,
And
here's that key card. Your fingerprint's already removed from the system.
your favorite chef has been fired because
Yeah.
you guys were too close. I mean, it becomes one of these things where right now we are watching not just in the NFL, but it has crept into the NCAA where these coaches are being fired midway through the year. And, you know, if you're for it, if you're against it, or you're indifferent to it, let's just say it this way. Usually you get to play out at least your season. And what we're seeing in the NFL is something we usually see. 3, 4 guys get fired. And then at the end of the year, we call it the bloodletting, the Black Monday, where there's 5 or 6 of them on the chopping block. I look at least a third of the NFL having new head coaches next year. And what that means is there's guys like Andy Reid who just keep on keeping on.
Man.
And for the NFL, you want to know why there's continuity with the Kansas City Chiefs. You want to know why there's success at a very high level in Kansas City. They're not changing every other year.
Yeah.
They have the same group of guys there with the same expectations.
Right.
And I'm going to steal it from Mr. Davis. Just win. If you could stick around and win, then most of what we call the multitude of ills goes with it. It could be off-field problems. It could be on-field problems. But what we're even seeing now is, even in Kansas City, we've had Kareem Hunt as the running back, but now we're getting a taste of this kid by the name of Pacheco, who's back. And listen, it didn't look like he lost a beat at all. I thought Pacheco looked just as fast.
Yeah.
I don't think he had his game legs underneath him. Of course he didn't.
No.
But at the same time, he's back.
Fresh.
And with him and Kareem,
No.
and now you got you've got Juju, and you've got D Hop, you
Is
Yeah.
got
Hollywood
your
coming
you.
back? Is Hollywood coming back this week?
I'm
Not
not
this week.
sure.
Not this week. The earliest I would think he might be back would be either the last game or the game before that. More likely, we won't see him till the playoffs.
Yeah,
Damn.
and
Well,
which
that,
is
Yeah,
just fine.
which is fine. That's just fine.
Yeah,
'Cause now you just added a whole wrinkle that nobody's seen at all. They haven't seen
right.
it at all. So him and Pat worked a lot together this past summer. So I think he'll have that advantage that he spent so much time with Pat during the summer that he'll be able to pick up quick. He already going to know the offense. So now he just got to go out there and feel it in the game. So
yeah, it's
And
it's
it,
tough. That's tough. It's when you ain't played and you got you got a rhythm about you. It's tough to come off, but that's where the veteranism comes in because
yeah,
you're a
yeah,
seasoned veteran.
yeah,
Hopefully, you can jump right back in with no
yeah.
loss of step. He doesn't have to run a lot of plays, just three or
No,
four real good ones.
well, hey, all he has to do is take his guy and run him down the field. It's one
right.
of those things is that with Andy Reid's offense, your running backs are going out for passes 10, 15, 20 yards down the field. It's one of the it's one of the only offenses where he trusts his guys to do that. You see Kareem Hunt with a 20-yard catch, you're like, uh, that's a big old boy back there to be running a 15-yard in. And he's got no problem run. And I say 15-yard in. Usually they're banana routes or
Yeah,
wheel routes.
The
Just
danger
something
is
get and goes.
you're messing up the safety with the linebacker and switching who that person is because
That's
they're
right.
usually looking for the receiver, and now you got a running back that instead of a receiver, so that changes how he covers it. And it's those little things. It's 100 little things, and like you're saying, the bad stuff gets covered up because you keep winning. I mean, our tackle situation is horrible, and I feel
woo,
like they getting smoked like real bad. Like y'all ain't just losing, you losing bad. So and consistently. So but like other teams, like Cincinnati, and I go back to them with their full defense. Like they got good elements of their defense, but they just got exposed so bad. Like you guys have to play better defense. And you don't have a prayer right now. You're going to have to win out, and then you're going to have to hope the football gods bless you with everybody else
Right.
losing at least 2 or 3 more games.
yeah, they're
And
gonna
then
they're gonna lose again. They just are in that mode right now. But like you said though, the one thing I will say for Wanye, and I know this doesn't always make it better, but I like the way he sounded. Was in his interview after the game. He was just like, he apologized to his teammates. Like, I'm out there getting my ass whooped. I got to get better. I got to get my technique better. I got to, and I know that doesn't always, you got to go do it on the field. I understand
Right.
that. But at least to me, he took responsibility. Like, that's
Right.
accountable for what I'm doing. I look like shit out there and I shouldn't be playing. Like, I need to get my stuff together. So I'm helpful for the kid because I like him. I think he seems like a good guy, and if they can get him to ultimately fill that spot, because that's what we're talking about here. I don't care if it's him or Santamaia. Somebody play well at left tackle, so Pat's not running for his life. You get me? That's all we're
Right.
talking about.
I mean, there's still a little
Otherwise,
bit.
we're gonna have to go get Willie Rofe and Kyle Turley. That's all
Oh,
I'm saying.
oh,
I mean,
Willie Rofe, man. Woo.
You
Oh,
talking about the baddest knees? Them knees are
man.
66 years old.
I don't,
He ain't
I
kick
don't know
standing like
what
he used to. I
I
love
don't know
Willie,
what
but
to tell
yeah,
you, man.
you are not kick slide like you used to, baby.
I do. Of the Pine Bluff ropes. He's from Pine Bluff, Arkansas,
And I
which
gotta
is where
say this.
my father was born.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my
Well, I
people
would
are.
say that the heart. I would just because Pat Mahomes is who he is. I honestly feel like the left tackle is gonna be bad because if I'm anybody, I'm putting my best guy on him. Period. Because I gotta hit Pat from the blind side. Because if he sees the right tackle, he's the one that pisses me off because he's jumping off sides all the goddamn time with false starts and he's getting whooped. So and he's lined up in the backfield. It's like that kind of shit. You got to check that shit. You got to get
I
that
I
under
don't think
control.
he gets whooped that bad. to me.
No, but when he
He
gets
causes the
whooped,
penalties.
he
I
causes the
get that.
penalties,
Yeah,
and then
he
he'll get
does.
whooped. And that's the worst thing you could do. You can't cause a penalty and then get your ass beat. That come on, man. That's two. You got
I'm looking
one.
at Trey Smith. That's who's concerned to me this year. I don't think he's had a very good year. Because the problem, in my opinion, has been when you see the heat that comes from both ends. I get that.
Right.
But there are a lot of those times when Pat used to be able to kind of step up, let that end kind of run around him. He'd almost do that little spin move, that little circle thing, and be able to
Yeah.
create that space. It's like now, this year, you see these DNs not necessarily having to take a bad route or really let Pat get out of the box. And then you still see a lot of pressure coming up the middle. And it seems like Trey.
He, did you just lose?
Yeah, we just lost him. I think one of the biggest things is the footwork and technique out there on that left tackle where he's just a little too smallish. So
When you say smallish, what do you mean?
well, he's not getting that hard step out to to his play side. When you see the defensive end come rushing in, they're doing that high arc nine or a high seven technique
Yeah,
where they're getting to, come by him and
yeah,
take
yeah,
off that half his
yeah.
body. He's playing smallish, meaning he's not taking as big a kick step out there. And when you don't take that big kick step, and listen, you can't take the big kick step every play, otherwise they'll do that sneak in underneath you, swim you
Well,
underneath.
but what they did with the first Super Bowl against the Niners was they knew they had Bosa, and they said he's way better than what was a guy who was a first round pick. He was way better than him. But they just let him go inside, and Pat would roll outside as soon as he come under. But Pat was
Right.
looking. So that was a good strategy. I know you can't do that every week because you're going against different guys that do have different rush techniques. So that's those are the things that when I look at it, like that if that's our only problem, we don't have any problems. To me, because we can work around it. We just have to have a better plan about how to work around it. Because
My only concern, though, in that is that Andy seems like he almost refuses to uh, change what he does and allow somebody to stay in and help the tackle. Like he just absolutely will not do it. Like he didn't do it in that Super Bowl against the Bucks. He's not doing it now, not to any significant extent. When Wanye was out there the other day, just getting beat play after play, man, you got to put somebody else over there. Like, come on, like you got to do something.
yeah, you want to deter the blitzing because what you really want to do is when they do blitz is burn them because you want to stop that blitz because when you got blitz it don't matter who's blocking if they're
And
sending
how
set.
do you stop the blitz? Usually you throw it right at the blitz.
Yeah, and if you don't stop the
Yeah.
blitz they're gonna keep doing it because that fucks up your play better more than anything.
Yeah,
So
but when you got that DN that's over there coming off the offensive tackle like he's not even standing there, like
that's
he's
true.
straight away.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's a lookout block. Look out, he's coming and he's
Look
pissed.
out, bro! He was on his
you
face.
did see, especially in the Buffalo game where they would let Kareem chip a little bit, but
Yeah,
Andy Reid loves to bring those backs out of the backfield, even on blitzes. Why? Because it's the one piece that's never ever identified until late in the play, and that is the running back coming out. And of course, you got Kelsey. I forget the other kid's name on the other side of the ball, the
Noah
other
Gray.
tight end. Yep. When you have as full of a house of cards as Pat Mahomes does, you could put up with a whole lot from your two tackles that aren't actually getting away with, and the reason is because he expects Pat, number one, to use his legs, but number two, he's got enough cards out there to throw the ball to.
Well, I
So
tell you what, I sure hope so because it would be nice to see him to really be able to find a rhythm. Like
yeah.
that's been a
Oh
big
yeah.
problem is that you can see the frustration at the end of the game when he threw the ball into the ground. because it's like, man, damn, man, bro, you ain't stopping them at all, man. Like, come on,
Yeah.
please.
It's like a fish through water. Come on, baby.
Come
Yeah, the
on,
Yeah.
lookout
man, come
block is the
on.
ones you
And
just
what's
can't
funny
get
is I
around.
heard his press conference today, and he absolutely refused to throw Wanye under the bus. I mean, he said it's so sweet and clean and beautiful. I'm like, man, you gotta love this dude if you played on
That's
this team,
leadership.
man.
That's
That's
right.
leadership, man. I loved it. This dude, he is, I don't care, Tom Brady, he's the best ever that I've ever seen. This
And
dude
you
does
know if you're
everything.
one of those if you're one of those two tackles, Jax, you know what kind of games you're playing. I mean, all you have to do, at least for me, I have a bunch of old chief buddies that they're commenting the whole time. Boy, that left tackle is horrible. That left tackle, this and that, feet aren't right, and they get into them. I mean, all they'd have to do is go into the Chiefs alumni, and they could get their
Oh,
entire film broke down for them.
man.
But when you got a kid like Mahomes and you got guys that are, in leadership positions, you don't have to tell a man he's had a bad game. He knows it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the this is not rocket science.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
my guy is beating me consistently, I am not playing well. That is just the way it goes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lineman, you
Uh,
look up there and you see 200 and something yards on the board at halftime. You're like, we're fucking up.
Come on.
Even if they're all
That's what that big screen. You
even if they're
know,
all tosses, you're like, shit. They get these yards on the outside, so that means I can't give shit on the inside. So yeah, you just know. Everybody knows it. You know it.
it's bad enough that you're on the field, but then they put it up on the big
Yeah,
screen so everybody can
yeah.
blow it up for you and go,
Oh, yeah.
here's how bad he is.
Yeah,
You know?
when I used to play against Barry Sanders, it'd be like, okay, he's at 60 yards by half.
Right.
He's gonna get 100. You know it. So you're like, shit. What are we gonna do? Where's he gonna go? Is he gonna be inside? Is he gonna be outside? And we try to break it down with the D line coach. Like, okay, what can we do? Run the games to stop this, stop that. We see which ones are getting the most yardage and stuff. And you go out there and try to stop it. It was Barry though, so that was another story
It
too.
was very.
But you know when you're fucking up, you know when it is, but it is what it is. The thing is, you find the best thing to do is own the shit. Don't run from it, because if you run from it,
Right. Oh,
you know,
hey.
that's what I think is going to happen. I think have they fired Chicago coach yet? Is he
Well,
fired?
Yeah. Which one?
What's his name? The dumb son of a bitch.
Oh, yeah, he's done. Yeah,
Okay,
Eberflus is done.
yeah, he's
okay,
done.
good. I never am an advocate for a coach to be gone in the middle of the season. I really am.
Right.
I think the only chance you got to have whatever season you're going to have is to run with you built this house. You got to finish it. That's just my opinion. But when he didn't call that timeout on Thanksgiving, oh my god, that
You
was
knew that was the coup de grace right there.
the dumbest shit I've ever seen. Like, how did you become a head coach and you do that? I mean, you can't fire any in my book. Like you're not the coordinator anymore. You're not the special teams guy. You head
Well, that's
coach.
how you lose a locker room.
That's your damn job to watch the clock. That's your job. Nobody else's. You watch the clock. The quarterback ain't responsible for watch guys. Could the kid have called the timeout? He should have. But he's a rookie.
Right.
What the hell is he gonna do? He's gonna do what he's told to do. Man, that just told me right there. You are horrible head coach. Politics your
Well,
way.
the expectation is if a coach is going to tell you to put it all on the line and doesn't do his homework, how much you go put on the line? I
Well,
mean, let's be real. Everybody after that play knew this. He's getting fired.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we are now getting ready for the draft. Okay,
No question.
and just try to stay healthy. I
Yeah,
mean,
everybody.
that's
But that's
literally
what
what every player was thinking.
I promise you, because it's not so much your top shelf guys, because they're not going anywhere. You may trade them, but that it's the guys in the
Right.
middle, and the guys in the middle, they got to fight every day because they don't have any guarantee in their contract.
That's right. The lunch pail guys are 80% of your ball club. And when you do something like that, that's literally I don't care if you're the cement truck driver. I don't care if if you're a waiter on a wait staff. If you make a faux pas that bad where it affects the
was bad.
company's bottom line that bad,
That was
ain't
bad.
nobody following.
And
Come
Well,
on.
you know what though? I learned last year in that Super Bowl against San Francisco to appreciate how good Andy Reid really is, because you're talking about a
Right.
Super Bowl team with not just one time Super Bowl type team, with a coach who really did not know the rules of the game. And I don't care what he says about he was waiting for the third possession and all that garbage. His
No, he
players definitely
wasn't.
didn't know. And
Right.
for patting them to talk about that, they talked about it in the preseason, in camp, and then they had somebody come in and talk to him about it again during the time between the AFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. Like, if you don't have that type of detail buttoned down, what are we talking about? And this is one of
That's
the
right.
best coaches in the game in Shanahan. He is one of the best coaches in the game. But to see Andy be able to be that much better, man,
Yeah.
I'm so thankful to have that dude here, bro. Come
yeah,
on.
the biggest thing is everybody got their ego, everybody got their pride and shit, and it's all understandable. But the coach is the first one to sacrifice his pride for the team's well being. Because when you do that as a coach, players will jump on the sword for you. They have no
That's
problem.
right.
See my coach, be accountable for what they do and don't do. That's the first thing. When you get up there and you talk about, yeah, it was the offensive coordinator's fault. Yeah, it was this guy's fault. It's like you blame anybody else but yourself. You're a dick. Because we all lost. We all win. Be accountable when we win. Be accountable when we lose. You show the
That's
level of
right.
accountability you want, guys are going to follow you. You don't show that level of accountability, you ain't getting it. And that's what I said when Eberflus got up after that damn at that press conference and he was talking. I don't even know what the fuck he said. It was so stupid to me. I was
I'd
like,
do it all over again.
you
I'd
know,
do it all over again.
shouldn't have did that. That's the first thing you. If you don't say that, everything else is womp 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 womp. I
Uh,
didn't hear you because you need to own that shit. Because that was the dumb. The only thing in anybody's mind was why the hell didn't he call timeout?
Had
Why
he owned it, he'd be coaching this week.
he would be
We
coaching this
just
week.
say it that way. And to the point where the kid, I think it's the offensive coordinator is Sharon. Hey, we're watching some new blood, guys, and I like seeing that too. Where uh, I didn't know who Eberflus was at the beginning of last year. Obviously, we've gotten to know him a little bit. He's back to being a position coach on some team. That some guys are not made to be head coaches, and they're given the opportunity to present themselves as a head coach. But it doesn't take long before you understand that this guy's he's a running back coach or an offensive coordinator at the very most, or a defensive coordinator, and that's okay. Uh, there's also some guys that I believe could be head coaches, but they're not sticking their neck out there. They hate press conferences. They're, in fact, it's the media mill that they don't want to go through and get chopped up like hamburger. But
Well,
you get to see some of these new guys who you don't know where they came from. You don't know how they got there, and they start producing a little bit. You're like, huh, I when I think of a guy like that, I think of Raheem Morris. Okay, Raheem has coached on several teams now, been a head coach, and but before that, uh, most people didn't know who he was. Tony Dungy did because that's where he started. But the reality for many is we don't get to know who this new blood is until things are
shit is,
created for them to be able to show themselves. And that's what's happening in Chicago right now.
and I think that's what like when I think about that situation, I think about DeMarco Ryan out of Houston.
Yeah,
How
same
he got
bit.
he got a fresh kid. They both raw. They both learning each other. They're like, hey, Ain't nothing up but the sky. Let's go after it. And they both came in and had a great year last year. They're struggling this year because people figure you out. That's the reality of the game. And once they figure out your style, they're gonna counter it.
Adjust.
They get paid too. So
Yeah.
that's the reality. But nonetheless, the his team will fight for him because not only because he was a player, but because he's owned that accountability walking in the door. I've heard him too many times own what he does. And again, it's like, yeah, we're not going to win every game. We wish we could. Yeah, everybody wants to be undefeated. That's a wonderful. Again, that shit goes out the window, and it's going out the window in college now too. So
Yeah,
it's not
it's true.
football is not the same as it was. It is evolving, and I think the thing is you got to balance the way that it's been ran for years. You have to use that, but you also have to still incorporate the new techniques, the new styles, the new whatever's new. You got to still incorporate that in what you're doing, and that keeps you evolving at a good pace. I think there's times you speed up with the new stuff, and there's times you slow it down. But and I got to credit Belichick. He said football's just a big ass circle.
Yeah.
It's going to go. It starts with running, hitting, tackling. Then it
Well,
goes to pass completions, play action, razzle dazzle, greatest show on earth, and then it comes right back to running, tackling, and hitting,
yeah.
and that's the game. But you got to
I'm
move
so
it
happy to
Well,
in.
and I think
I'm
I
so
think
happy
Red.
to see the fullback come back to
Yeah,
playing on short downs. Uh, being an ex fullback, I used to tell my sons who played some college ball, when you guys are down there on the goal line and there's just a single back there, that ain't going to do it. As soon as he's hit at the line, he's done. That's why you need another, you need one of those burly fullbacks get in there and bust a linebacker up. Hey, you're exactly right, Steve. Belichick believed in the full circle. We're watching the full circle. I'm just happy to start seeing now playing. There's two
now they're
backs in the
fullback.
backfield.
Now
Yeah,
they're
there's two
fullback.
backs in the backfield again. Yeah,
Well,
Yeah,
and I think Red, you said something earlier when we talked about coaching. To me, that is very obvious that these organizations are under so much pressure, whether that be TV or public pressure, that they are not giving hardly any of these coaches enough time to even develop
right,
a program. Like it's unreasonable to think that out there in Vegas, you haven't given him a quarterback yet. Like what is the point of not giving the guy a chance when in a
right,
quarterback league driven league you don't have a quarterback on the team who's even near good enough. So these coaches just in general, what they did to Saleh up there in New York was ridiculous. That doesn't make any
right.
sense at all. Every single time the Raiders fire their coach, I go, "Whoo, I'm great. Love to hear it, man," because I hate the Raiders. So that I know that by firing your coach, you're starting all over again. You're more than likely going to be 2 more years behind, and in that 2 years, you're probably going to fire that dude and bring in somebody else. So
Right.
it's
And
crazy.
the reality is this: coaches don't get a big leash. Players aren't getting a long leash either. Uh, the days of I think of when Roger Staubach was playing and Danny White was his backup for like 11 years, right? I mean, like forever. And if he got hurt and Danny White got hurt. Then Glenn Carano came in, who'd been there 4 or 5 years, and there was this continuity of hey, the machine just keeps on churning. That isn't the case anymore. I mean, we could find out mid-season that a kid that we started with in Miami is now starting in Green Bay,
Yeah,
and and then gets cut, and we don't hear from him again for another 2 years, and then he pops up in Washington. I mean, it's one of these things where I use Carson Wentz as that example a lot of
yeah,
times, where you're a number one and you end up just bouncing around like and I call them lunch pail guys
yeah.
because that's what they are. They just They go to work and you know what? They get their pink slip and they head out to the next spot. That I think formally we're watching, the ADHD of the NFL and the fan. And is that based upon Las Vegas? It could be. I think a lot of it is just the impatience of the fact that you got a fan base that wants to win yesterday. And
Well,
here's the deal: you don't get that.
hold
I mean,
on.
that's just not
What
going to happen.
what we got with Vegas, and let's talk about this. The
All
problem
right,
with Vegas is they got lines, and they
right,
don't really give a
right,
fuck what you bet on. They just want you to bet.
right,
So
right,
they need a narrative on how great Josh Allen is, how great Pat
right,
Mahomes is, and they got to see that greatness. And when they don't see that greatness, because they don't give a shit about how football actually works, they just care about the greatness because that's a title, that's a something the
right,
fans can get behind and get excited. Like, oh my God, Josh Allen is going to go against Pat Mahomes. Man, I'm gonna bet a lot of money on this. So that's what Vegas wants. They just want you to be so excited that you're gonna. I'm putting $400 on the game. I normally only put $200 on the game. I'm putting 400 on the game. That's what they want. And they say, well, how many? Who's going to have more first downs, Pat or? Literally, just watch ESPN. They're saying,
right, right.
what's the over under? Who's going to throw over 250? Where did you come up with 253? I mean,
Yeah,
because the reality of winning a game, I only need to throw one more yard than the other guy. I only need to get one more point than the other guy. That's all. That's the reality of the game. But the hype they do before every single game, which it pisses me off because it's not the game. It's the hype. And they're trying to inject the hype to be such a part of the game. They're swinging on Detroit's nuts. Detroit's the best team in the NFL. They're playing fantastic, but they are hurt like a motherfucker. And they're going into their conference games, and they are each one is going to be a bar fight, not a easy. Oh, I'm playing the old Philadelphia or Phoenix Cardinals. No, sir, you are playing four teams or three teams that are fighting their ass off to get a playoff spot, and you don't know who's
right.
going to win. But if I got enough hype behind it, I'm going to get those lines filled up, and I'm going to make a shit ton of money. What was it, by week 4 they had already made 10 billion? Are you fucking kidding me? That's why everybody's ESPN bets.
We're in the wrong business, fellas.
Yeah.
Man, that's why I can't understand how you think somebody who could bankrupt a casino could be a good businessman. Like, what?
I
How you
mean,
bankrupt a casino, man?
because you got too
Cash
much.
money just rolling in. Like, what?
You got too many bodies laying places. That's why.
That's crazy.
There's too
Well,
many
you know
Bodies.
what?
There's too
I'll
many
say
bodies.
yes. Vegas is definitely a part, but now, to me, it's as much about the media cycle of it all. And I know Vegas is behind there. They don't really care how the cycle of it all goes.
Nope.
no.
They're always just going to set it up for somebody to bet on both sides of the thing, and that's right. You can hype it
That's
all
it.
you
You
want.
know
They're
how?
going to play the hype down because they want you to bet on the other side sometimes. So
Well, in social media. So social media is the
social
engine
media, what we're
that
doing right
pushes.
now, like having the
That's right.
opportunities to be out here
We're feeding the beast.
feeding the
Yep.
beast, man. We are feeding the beast right now, and that's fine, because what happens is people hear things that people say, and now they're running with it, and it's a
Right.
perception thing, and it's all. So you hope to have the type of owners like you have in Pittsburgh, where they're not firing their head coach, like they're not doing it, like
They got a
Mark
they
18
Cuban
winning seasons.
they
winning
figured it
seasons
out.
year after year after year.
They figured
So,
it out, and Kansas City has duplicated that same model. Get a
yeah,
coach that builds a culture, that
yeah.
builds an ideology, and is passionate about this game. That's what you
And
do.
stick with them. That's why.
Yes,
That's why Baltimore,
through the
even though
bad years.
even in their bad years, it's
Yeah,
always
stick
going to
with
be.
them.
That's why I keep Shanahan. That's why I say he's one of the best coaches in the league because he's had an opportunity to fine tune that thing. To even you lose McCaffrey again for the rest of the season. You've had Purdy's been out. You're always Debo Samuels is always a little hit and miss. Everything he does. but you're still right there. I mean, it's year after year, he's going to be right there. So
You just don't give up on a guy just because if he's got the right mindset and the guys are listening to him and following him, that's all you want.
yeah,
Because
Hmm.
well, that's the first as an owner, you can't. Yes, you want to get the talent in. Yes, I would love to have a team of Josh Allens if I can get them, but you can't. That's not the reality. The reality is you got to find a way to make those 55 guys want to fight for one another, fight for you, and then fight for themselves. That's what you want to do. You want to make them mix that order up to where they start putting the team ahead of themselves. And that's not easy to do when you're talking this kind of money that's on the table now. And it's a ton. So guys are 100%. You got 55 mercenaries on every one of these teams. That's just the reality of what it is.
yeah,
Because yeah, I'm making 400 million. But if I can make seven, shit,
yeah, no doubt.
it
So let
changes.
me ask you this, because we don't have a lot of time left, and we're supposed to talk college football and all this
Oh
other
shit.
stuff. But I'm not even worried about that because I love what we've been talking about, breaking down this team right now as well. Uh, Defensively for the Chiefs, they're not the defense they used to be. And I was glad to see Hugh back in the game. It felt like he gave him a little bit of energy. They actually got some actual sacks this week. That sack number in particular is concerning to me because I think they play hand in hand. Now it doesn't help that when a quarterback looks up, he knows that 13's guy or 27's guy is probably open. One of them two dudes is probably open because they're not covering very well. But it would also be nice if he couldn't read that because he was getting so much pressure, which they invested a lot of money on their defensive line this offseason. Not just Chris, but they brought back everybody. Dana, they brought back the whole defensive line, everybody. George Karlaftis' numbers are down. What they got to
Oh shit, we lost you, Jackson. You just went mute. Well, I would say that my perspective is that the defense is what it is. The difference is people pick up on shit. It's the NFL. Everybody goes and breaks that film down religiously. That's why coaches stay there till 7, 8 at night, sometimes all the way overnight, trying to figure out we got to shut Chris Jones down. So they go and figure out a way to do it. And week after week after week, first and foremost, you got to stay fresh. It's hard to stay fresh. This is the time of year where your legs are gone,
They're
and
gone.
it's hard to get up and have that extra oomph. And you got the postseason coming. That's first thing. Second thing, Chiefs are getting the best of everybody they play. So you may have watched the Raiders play shitty against the team the week before, but when they play against you, all of a sudden they got that little extra pep in their step. That's the first thing there. Then you get
Yeah, they're
injuries.
playing world beater.
Yeah, you get injuries and you got your own injuries. Trust and believe there's nobody playing that's done started every one of these games that don't have an elbow, a knee, an ankle, their back, their chest. Something's hurting really bad. And they find a way to push through it. So at this time of year, this is why I say what I say. Be 500 by December so you can make your run. Yes, they're going to be lax. They're not going to be the number one defense every single week, every single throughout the whole year. If you do it, I mean, it's a miracle if you do. You would have to beat the injury bug, and you would have had to beat your just the grind of the season. So I don't see it as it's not a great thing, but it's not horrible. It's not like we just the defense just laid down and said, "Fuck it, we're not stopping nobody no more." Yeah, folks are going to get open, especially because we got those injuries. But the defense is still the defense, and trust and believe. I believe that the Chiefs walked into this season saying, "Hey, we're a strong defensive team. Y'all got to carry the lion's share of the load until we get the offense together." I think that's how they walked into the season. Now we're looking at the point of the defense is wore down a little bit. They're still getting everybody's A-plus game, suffering injuries, and the offense is still not where it needs to be. That's what you're looking at. I'm not going to promise it, but I would bet by the postseason you're going to see the original defense that we saw in the first few weeks. it's still going to be a challenge because again, everybody got 17 weeks of film on you, so they're going to study that and they're going to look for any little thing. And you shut down Chris Jones, you shut down the line that rush because not many guys can go out there and just beat one dude really quickly. Chris Jones is unique in that situation. Everybody else was just a lot like me. I'm a guy. I can play. I can do this, but I'm not that special dude. And that special dude, that 3% that he's got, everybody ain't got that shit. And if you get two of them on your defense, you got a hell of a defense. So I'm going to give him the grace, and I'm not going to, throw the baby out with the bathwater. So our defense is still good. They're still good. They're just not. It's it's the end of the season, and it's tough. This is the hardest part of the season. That's my take on it.
If you're good, you got three game films before they figure you out, and they're gonna figure you out. They're gonna find out whether your thumb is twitching on play action. They're gonna find out whether or not your left foot is set back 2 inches. And if you don't believe me, one of these days we'll have on one of the coaches that I think is par excellence in figuring that stuff out. And he's a genius when it comes to it. And he'll tell you. In fact, when I was with them in Minnesota, I never saw him, and the reason was that he never left the film room. And the only time I saw him was out on the field for practice, and then he he was back to the laboratory. And there are guys like that where you're not going to get uh, more than 3 weeks of game footage without them understanding exactly the kind of player you are. If you're a coach in this league, you got 5 weeks of them trying to figure you out before you start going into the what I call the other bag of tricks, and that other bag of tricks is what they haven't seen, but they're going to figure out your play calling, they're going to figure out your tendencies, they're going to figure out not only what you like on first and long, but second and short, goal line, and they're going to be ready for you. And if you don't believe it, this is the National Football League. That's what they do. They don't go to church on Sunday. They don't have extra, they don't have extra time to, go hang out with the family.
Not a lot
They
of
are
golf playing.
team. They do not have a tea time during the NFL season. These guys are strictly getting ready to hunt you on Sunday, and that's what they do. Hey, it's what Julius Peppers used to say. Julius Peppers did not say he was a football player and that he played against guys. He said, "I hunt quarterbacks." I got to tell you, there's some levity in that. Where if you're a quarterback, that should make the hair on the back of your neck stand up a little bit. Because hey, big homie wasn't playing; he was
Especially when
hunting.
that dude said it. Jeez.
That's what I'm. That's what I'm saying.
Well, man, I tell you what, man, we have had a great time here tonight. Like I said, I know we were supposed to talk a little bit of college football, and I'm excited about that. You got your conference championship games coming up. The way the system is folding out in that whole thing, this 12-team tournament ought to be real cool. So we'll still have some time to get back to that. We always, as always, want to hit up special plays, simple plays. And just maybe I don't know if there's really any NIL specific stories that are going on, but we always want to talk a little bit about what's happening as far as simple plays is concerned.
Yeah, for the most part, I just looking at how the college playoffs are getting ready to line up.
Yeah,
It's looking like it's everybody's fantasy come true. That now we're not BSing about who's going to be where, and there's no more debate. It's like, okay, we're going to put these folks on the table and they're going to play each other. And
yeah.
I think what's going to really have to kick in is the NIL benefit, because I think there was one kid that said that he's not going to play, a Mizzou kid. The receiver, he said he's not going to play in the bowl game.
Yeah,
Now they're not in the playoffs, but he's not going to play in the bowl game,
yeah,
which
they're not in. Yeah,
so if they don't win the bowl game, it's going to affect recruiting because beating Ohio State in the bowl game last year really helped Mizzou's recruiting.
Yeah.
So I think what's going to happen with NIL is NIL's got to have to be able to put incentives in for the bowl game appearances, whether you're in the playoffs or not. That's something that could be, if you smack another $200,000 on somebody's contract to play the bowl game.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm playing. So,
That sounds good to me.
yeah, it looks like I'm there. But
I can buy Mama a Bugatti. That's right.
so it's
At
those
least a Hellcat.
Well, look at what
Come
it
on.
did. Look
That's
at
right.
how it killed Florida State last year by
Right.
none of their guys playing in the bowl game at all, and it killed their recruiting, consequently killing their season this year. So it becomes they don't have and I think one of the coaches said it best. He said, let's stop masquerading the student athlete. Let's just call them semi-pro athletes.
Yeah.
Because it's a introductory league to the NFL or the NBA. Let's just face it.
Minor league system in sports.
Just call it what it is. Go ahead, let them get their union and quit